Hello, church. Today we begin our season of prayer and fasting. It's going to go through Good Friday on April the 10th. And I want to recommend and encourage you to read a passage in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 9, verses 14 to 29. Imagine this scene. It's a hopeless scene. It's a desperate scene. Jesus comes down from the Mount of Transfiguration, finds 9 of his disciples mobbed by a crowd and a desperate father. And he discovers that there's a boy that is a deaf mute, that's epileptic, that's demonized. The demon seems to be victorious. The disciples have failed. The father is really desperate. The religious authorities are mocking. All sorts of things are happening on the scene. Just imagine being this dad. All the other dads can watch their kids grow and mature. He has to watch his suffer. All the other dads can train their sons into an occupation and apprentice them for a career, and he has to just work at keeping his son alive. This is the kind of overwhelming pressure that he's facing. He is not too holy to be me. He is not too holy to be you. He's a perfect example of somebody who is overwhelmed by seemingly impossible circumstances. And he comes to Jesus in verse 22 and he says, "But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us." If you can do anything, that little word if you would have just said, because you can do anything, please have compassion on us and help us. It would have made all the difference, that one little word. But Jesus responds back to him in the 23rd verse and says, "If you can believe." In the Greek language, that's an exclamation. He takes the "if you can do anything" and he says, "If you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes." In other words, Jesus ministers hope to faith. And immediately, the father of the child cried out and said with tears, "Lord, I believe, help my unbelief." Now, does that sound like a confident prayer? Does that sound like a courageous prayer? Does that sound like a strong prayer? Seemingly, no, hardly at all. But in actuality, there is far more faith in there than we realize. Because we see the miracle need this high, we see our faith at this level, and all we can see is the great gap in between. When he says, "if you can do anything," when he's imploring Jesus, that Greek word there for "if," it really implies quite a bit of doubt. It's almost like, I think this is a little bit out of your league. Now, I can relate to that because sometimes I feel like the miracle I'm praying for is definitely out of the league of my faith. I can actually struggle and wonder if I really know how to pray a prayer of faith that is going to make a difference. This man can really encourage us today because he says, "I believe, help my unbelief." And we go on to read this story. Jesus responds to that, and this boy is totally set free. The demon that would cast him into the water to drown him frequently, the demon that would try to cast him into the fire to snuff out his life, is expelled, forcibly evicted from this boy's life, and he's forever transformed. He's delivered, and he's free for the first time ever in his life. And it all comes from a prayer, "Lord, I believe, help my unbelief." The first time I ever experienced a supernatural gift of faith, the faith that can move mountains, I prayed this prayer together with a friend over a newborn that was not expected to live through the night. And we prayed, "Lord, we believe, help our unbelief. Lord, we believe, help our unbelief." And the Lord gave us that supernatural spiritual gift of faith. And the baby was totally raised up and healed. It was a miracle by all medical experts' opinions. That little faith actually can move mountains because it's not the size of our faith, the quality of faith, although these things will grow through use. It's the one that we put this faith in. The disciples then come to Jesus and ask, "How come we couldn't do what we'd been able to do previously? We've been casting out demons throughout our entire time with you. What happened?" In verse 29, he said to them, "This kind can come out only by prayer and fasting." Prayer and fasting will forcibly evict impossible circumstances. Prayer and fasting will bring the miracles of healing we're believing for in this season. Prayer and fasting will produce the signs and the wonders that we've seen and we want to continue to see more and more. So I want to invite us, make a list of all the impossible circumstances you want to see changed and get ready to pray big. Focus on the one who can and continue to offer to the Lord, "I believe, help my unbelief. I believe, help my unbelief," so that you can have an ever-growing and ever-increasing faith. We're going to be sharing testimony after testimony, day after day, of what the Lord is doing. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless.